welcome to the Malika Writes channel. My name is Malika and today we're going to have a bit of a change of plan. I was supposed to go to the Fortnum & Mason's afternoon tea restaurant, but thanks to the government tier 3 social distancing regulations, we're at home today, but we'll still be talking about tea just at home. I'm going to be drinking a raspberry leaf tea. I'm going to be doing a review of this book, which is called Tea and the History of the Drink That Changed the World by John Griffiths. And I came to tea through this book. Obviously, tea is a very big part of British culture, but I had never really understood why it was a part of British culture. I'd never really understood the history, but I was given this book actually by my mum, and I read it. I really enjoyed it, and it provoked this this sort of urge to find out more about tea and also to find out different types of teas, because in the book it doesn't really cover herbal teas, it covers the tea leaf. And that's really how I came into tea, and that's how I really got into the love of it. Now, the book is a brilliant book. I think it's a book that everyone who is even mildly interested in tea or history should read. I think the way that tea has ingrained itself in British culture is very interesting to follow through. But it also talks about the origins of tea, how it was a Chinese and Japanese drink, and how the traders first got introduced to it when they would almost have talks or want to set up a sort of meeting that would enable both of these groups who were trading different items to come together and talk in peace, and tea would often be served because it was a sort of social, it was a social drink. And the first time it really came to Britain, people didn't really know what to do with it. They ate it, they just thought you pop the leaf in your mouth and just eat it, but they didn't really understand it. It's only a little bit later that it became ingrained in British culture and actually led to the colonization of India as to be one of these huge tea farms. Of course, it wasn't the only reason that India was colonized, but it was a big part. And we see how the history and the sort of the futures of entire nations are decided over this tea leaf, which most of us take for granted. Now, we don't really see how something as common as tea could result in a whole big thing like colonization or major trade wars, or the funneling of opium into China in order to destabilize the monopoly that the Chinese had on tea and other such products. So the book goes into beautiful detail about all of that, and I think it's a really good book to read. I enjoyed the writing style thoroughly. It also includes a guide on how to make tea later on in the book, which I think is really good for anyone who likes tea or who is looking to properly enjoy tea. Now, I admit I do not always enjoy tea in the fashion that it is supposed to be enjoyed, but this is one of the ceramic cups that you're supposed to use when you drink tea, because it helps keep the flavour all trapped in there. So now that we've recommended the book, I also wanted to talk about how I sort of got into tea making, because I do make my own teas. I buy herbs and then dry them out and make different teas and just experiment. So from this book, that's how I sort of got into the whole tea making sort of thing. I became interested in the different herbal teas and their herbal properties and the benefits that they could have. One of the things I wanted to make clear is that herbal teas are not, you know, some magical sort of alternative to modern medicine. Modern medicine is it's something that we have in order to help cure ourselves, and it's very effective because the most active ingredients in what we would typically find in plant medicines have been put into your capsules, and these are the most concentrated elements. So you're basically getting what you would get in a plant, but if you got it from a plant, it would be a lot weaker. So it's not as an alternative to modern medicine, but it is good if you don't want to continuously be on modern medicine. If you have a headache or you have a cold, you don't want to continuously be taking paracetamol, which is actually really bad for your liver. But you could always take some honey and ginger and lemon, which is a really good combination for colds. And that's sort of how I got into tea. It wasn't like I always had an obsession with tea. It's definitely a big thing in British culture, and I think this book really goes into depths about how it became so big, mainly because it helped decide some of the biggest decisions of the 20th century. But if I had to talk about British culture, I don't think you can talk about it without tea. And this, if you want to get a greater understanding of that, then I recommend this book. I also wanted to just kind of talk about how cultures come together through a particular product and what we place value on. It's really interesting that tea is something that we have decided to place value on, just like we once placed value on salt and sugar, which we all know was one of the products of slavery, and how we've put value on coffee, which was just like tea in its ability to decide major factors of our 20th century history. So I think that sort of wraps up this video. It was just a quick recommendation of this book, which I really love, and that is Tea, A History of the Drink That Changed the World by John Griffiths. And a book I really enjoyed and would recommend to everyone who is even mildly interested in tea, or anyone who is interested in history. I also wanted to just briefly talk about my love of tea, because tea is featured on this channel quite a lot. It's not just an accessory, it is actually a passion of mine. And I also just wanted to just throw the idea out there of how we place value on things and how they can become so important in our culture when really they were just taken from another culture, and how history sort of shows us that we are just one people and things have moved from different cultures to another, and that's how human cultures evolve. So thank you very much for listening to this little ramble of a video, and I hope you have a good day. I hope your day is a very productive day. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Share if you think this is useful, if you think you know anybody who would be interested in this book. I hope that you share this video so that they can know a little bit about it and maybe look it up and buy it. So I'll say thank you and have a brilliant day. This has been the Malika Writes channel.